Hey, hey, hey. Time for another out of this world story from rSpace. My ex-wife cheated over and over until I got fed up and destroyed her life. We have been together for 5 years. We got married last year, January, and we bought our first house together a few months into our marriage. My cheating ex-wife and I met at one of the rare parties I attended with my guy friends. I was an introvert who rarely went out with people, but that night my friends had dragged me along with them, saying that I needed to interact with people. Normally, my friends would already be dancing or playing with party games. However, this time they were all nowhere to be found. I was tired of staying at the party and was looking for one of them to tell them that I was going home. I saw my best friend standing near the door across from the snack table, talking to two very attractive ladies. He was an intern at the local hospital at the time, and he rarely got the chance to meet or talk to girls. I was surprised to see him really interested in talking to a girl. Apparently, one of the girls was a new intern in the hospital he was looking at. I walked over to them, and one of the ladies saw me approach, so she looked over at me. My best friend then looked up and saw me. I said hello to him, and he introduced me to the two young ladies. The first one was the one my friend had his eye on. They had met in the hospital, and they had been talking during shifts. She had gotten invited to the party by a mutual friend and had been surprised to see my friend there. She had long, dirty blonde hair and brown eyes. She was very slim, only about 90 pounds. She was a very attractive young lady, and she seemed very nice. My friend later ended up marrying her, but that's not part of the story. When I met her friend, however, it forever changed my life from that moment on. Her friend was 5'3" with a slim, athletic build. She had a very dark tan, dark brown, curly hair, and the brightest and prettiest blue eyes I have ever seen. Her light, bright eyes contrasted against her dark tan. Her lips were full and luscious. I don't know why, but everything about her was amazing. The way she stood, the way she talked, the way she looked around at other people in the mall. Everything about her was wonderful. I couldn't believe that there was a human being so beautiful, so perfect, and so lovely. I was immediately smitten with her from the first time I had laid eyes on her. I spent the rest of the party trying to talk to her along with my friend. We walked all around the room, and then when the room got too crowded, we went outside where we talked all night. The more I listened to her, the more I wanted to hear. The words from her mouth were so sweet, like drops of honey on my ears. Her voice was beautiful. Every glance, every smile, every look from her were more treasured than anything I had ever received in my life. I was hoping that she liked me at least half as much as I liked her, because it was already starting to hit me that this was my soulmate. It was truly love at first sight. I didn't get her number that night, but we soon met at another party with some of my other friends. However, at this party, she was giving me attitude. I was confused because we seemed to have had a great time the last time we had met. I decided to talk to my friends since I had no experience with ladies because of my introverted nature. When I told my friends about her, they advised me to stay away from her because she was probably trying to bait me and must probably have a boyfriend. On hearing that, I figured what they said was true and I stayed away from her. The next time I met her was when I went as my friend's wingman on his first date with her friend. She was more receptive to me this time, so I excused us from the table so we could take a walk. And we started talking, and I asked her if she had a boyfriend. She had told me that things weren't really going well with them. Soon, we came back around to the bar. There was an ice cream shop just across the street. She suggested that we go get some ice cream. She got a double cone of strawberry. As she started to eat it, she offered me some. I knew then that she must like me because no girl is going to let a guy eat from her ice cream cone if she isn't really into him. This made me feel a lot more comfortable and happy. We walked around and talked for another hour or so until my friend texted me to come back. We returned to the bar and the ladies said they wanted to go home. We didn't want them to go home yet, so we suggested that they go bowling with us, which they agreed to. When we got to the bowling alley, she admitted to me that she didn't know how to bowl. I promised that I was going to teach her how to bowl. Her friend suggested that we get a lane together to bowl. We got shoes and a lane, and then we paired up to bowl. She was a natural at bowling, and we were able to beat my friend that night. That was the first of many dates we had before we decided to make things official. We've had the usual relationship ups and downs over the years. Things started getting worse once her career and commute started to take its toll. We have very few common interests or hobbies, but similar goals for family and future. We are both doing fairly well in our careers, so the job stuff below has more to do with identity and achievement than financial needs. We've always had an open and honest device policy. Trust meant that I, never had to go through her phone. She's cheated twice before in prior relationships. The guy forgave her twice, but then cheated on her and confessed that he never truly got over it, so she left. She believes her past has shaped her outlook on life. She is very critical and has confidence issues. She launched her first career a few years ago. It was what she went to college for. but the commute to the only job she could find is about 2 to 3 hours each way daily. Before we bought our home, we lived together at places with similar distance, but she always insisted that she could handle the commute. This was her compromise because she said she could handle it, and where we decided to live was always part of the long-term plan to starting a family together. I mentioned the job because in the past, we would have occasional fights about how it was consuming all of her time and energy, and I started to get frustrated with her not having any more left for us on the nights and weekends. It got to the point where I would stonewall her if she mentioned work. I meant well, but in hindsight, she told me that it came across like I wasn't supportive or cared about her career. She insisted that I wanted her to just stay home and be a housewife, but I truly never wanted that angle. I only asked that she try harder and do more because I believed in her ability to succeed and find a proper work-life balance. There's more to this, like my attempts at finding common hobbies or interests to keep us engaged, but it may not be relevant to the recent events that have unfolded. Things escalated a few months ago when we toyed with the idea of her renting out a place closer to work in attempts to alleviate the drain of the commute. I thought this would be a good thing for her as it would give her extra sleep time and take home work and free up weekends to focus on us. I insist that this was in her best interests because I truly wanted her to be able to focus on her work without the stress of our relationship. To be fair, however, I was probably also fed up with the constant arguments and was looking for a solution. In the end, she did find a place late October, early November, but things drifted for the worse instead. I kept bringing up how incompatible we were, and on several occasions our arguments would escalate to talk of divorce. She accused me of kicking her out of the house. She repeated that when I highlighted our incompatibilities, it was just a reinforcement of how she wasn't good enough for me. Suggestions were interpreted as criticisms of her as a person instead of her actions. This would lay the foundation for her justification for what happened next. As it turns out, she always kept nominal contact with the first guy she cheated with. Brief happy birthday texts through the years. Well, the weight of everything opened up an opportunity. In the beginning of December, those texts quickly, on the first day actually, led her to his house for a party, where I learned that in a claimed moment of weakness, she ended up in his room and they began having sex. She swears that he wore a condom and that she slept in his arms the entire night and scurried away early in the morning. For the next few weeks, they met for food a few times and continued to flirt over text, sometimes even while in our home. She would text gems like how it would be difficult for her to get out, or he would joke that they couldn't spend time at our place. She even let him into our lives, sending pictures and telling him what they were up to. After her first month living in the rented place, she had a few weeks off. So, she moved back home and we talked about what her next move was. Initially, it was continue this arrangement. But with her time off, we began to rekindle what we had, and I admitted that I just wanted her to come back home. So we slowly came back to terms, relishing in the now, and placed faith in our love to each other. On a lazy weekend morning early January, we were laying in bed trying to decide what to do for the day. I reached for her phone because it was closer, and for some intuitive reason, I decided to check her messages. This is where you cue the heart-dropping and generic accusations inquisitions. Immediately, she demanded her phone back and defended its contents. She swore nothing happened and that it was just harmless texting. But I kept at it, and she finally admitted that she texted him happy birthday. They went to dinner, and he kissed her. She said she turned away, told him she had someone, and left. If you're keeping track, that's lie number 1. She told me that he said he never stopped loving her, that when she and I were at our darkest and lowest times, she justified her actions and his attention because she just needed to feel special again. So, though we were on the cusp of divorce, she just needed to feel like somebody. Guys, we all know this is the easiest move in the book. I just trusted her and thought she was stronger than that. Well, that was enough for me. Despite all of my attempts to stay rational and level-headed, this was too much for me. I told her she had to go. She pleaded and cried, but I insisted. This doesn't happen to me. I asked to read through the text in its entirety, but she reacted by deleting everything. I was livid. Frankly, maybe this was the way it was supposed to go. In frenzy, I helped her pack and told her that this would be for the better, that we would stay good friends and that we would laugh about it one day. But we were married. I calmed down and realized that I needed her in my life. So less than 24 hours went by before I asked her to come back and we tried to reconcile. I pleaded for her to promise never to lie to me like that again. She confessed that she screwed up and that she was sorry. We sat on the stairs and cried together, and I knew I had an uphill battle to forgive her. But we were married. I felt an ethical and moral obligation to uphold an institution, and so I tried to heal. I consider that lie number 2. A few days had passed, with my emotions up and down and her commitment to make it right unwavering. I would have dreams at night about that dinner and the subsequent kiss. It was difficult. She said she understood and was always by my side. She said he didn't know about us until after the kiss, that she kept her distance after that, but it was unwavering. One night, while she was fast asleep next to me, I decided I had to dig. I managed to recover the deleted messages from her phone. The contents of the phone drained me. The flirting, the secrecy, the morning after recap, everything was right there for me to see. It was painful to see everything along with the details of her own life right there. As if that wasn't bad enough, there was also her chat history with some other guy. I woke her up there and then and asked her what her deal was. Even then, she still kept trying to lie to my face. It took almost all night before she relented and decided to answer my questions. But even still, it was the same excuses that she gave. He made her feel special and she knew she screwed up. She was sorry and that it would never happen again. I loved her so much that I was considering letting her stay. I told her that she had to see a therapist if she wanted our relationship to continue. She accepted and said that she would stay and behave herself this time. She started seeing a therapist and quit her job again. She said she wanted to start a business instead. She spent months of doing research and gathering market samples. I thought she was being busy so she wouldn't have to chat anymore, but I was wrong. She made friends with some of the people she was working with, so they occasionally hung out sometimes after the day had ended. This was fine with me. I wanted her to have a social life in a new city. Besides, they were all women, so I trusted her, and we were both clear about wanting a monogamous relationship with one another, so there was no space for cheating again. One day, she didn't come home. I texted her out of concern, just making sure she was all right, and didn't hear back until the next day when she got home at the same time as me wearing another man's shirt. I asked her about it. She said one of her new friends had gotten too drunk and taken off his shirt and ran off, so they spent all night looking for him. I, being the devil's advocate, believed her. She started coming home drunk more often, which I didn't approve of. I gave her an ultimatum, letting her know that as much as I supported her taking her own journey and learning her own lessons, that I couldn't condone the actions that were happening, and that things needed to change if we were going to continue being in each other's lives. One Thursday, I was on my way home from work. I had decided not to go to the gym because work was extremely exhausting. I walked into the house to find her in bed with another man. I closed the door almost as fast as I had opened it to try and process what I had seen. I waited for about 15 seconds to gather my thoughts and then opened the door again. This mystery man walked up to me in his boxer shorts and extended his hand trying to apologize, saying that he had no idea I existed. I accepted the apology and asked him to leave, pretty calmly considering the shock I was in. I moved out of the house 3 days later. Needless to say, as much as I would have loved to throttle the other guy, it was not his fault. It was her choice to knowingly betray me and to lie about it. Now I was completely mad. I had given her the chance over and over to stay faithful, and she betrayed me again and again. There was no way I was letting it go because she had more or less emasculated me. I didn't go home for weeks because there was no way I'd go back while she was still there. She kept trying to call and text, but I ignored her. The first thing I did was cancel all the cards I was finding in her name. There was no way I'd let her continue to leech off of me. Then I got an attorney with all the proof I had gotten. She begged and pleaded when she was served papers, but there was no way I was listening again. I kept thinking about how I should have left her a long time ago, but I didn't. It wasn't enough that I cut her off from me. I needed to do more. Something that would make her hurt for the times she had hurt me. Since her business plan was in its final stage, she needed money to implement her idea. Money I had promised to cover half of the loan. She was supposed to find the other half, but she blew the interview with the bank manager and was trying to reschedule. Because she had to cover the costs of divorce, since she was the guilty party, and she had no job, the bank didn't give her the loan. Now she was homeless and broke, and I wasn't done. The next thing I did was find a couple of my buddies who I knew could drop the cash I needed to start a business. Then I implemented her business idea and started it off. The thing is, it's a first of its kind business. So even if she launched it after I did, I still had an advantage over her in the market. The business was a hit with everyone, and I have been having a great time reaping the benefits. If she could steal my heart and stomp on it over and over again, then I was entitled to stealing her business idea. She got another job after that, so when I extended offices, I made sure to pick a location where she would have to pass through every day to get to work. Update. She reached out to me through my lawyer last month to tell me that she was pregnant and had given birth. It's been almost 6 months since the last time I caught her cheating, and I didn't want to believe her at first. She was pregnant while we got divorced, but she was just mentioning it now? I was suspicious and thought she wanted to trap me with a child, so I told her that the only way I would believe her was if we took a DNA test at a clinic of my choice. She agreed because she had no choice. Well, it turns out that the baby is indeed mine. I told her that she could keep the baby until the baby is weaned. Then, I get to keep full custody. Even now, I make sure to buy everything my baby needs so that she doesn't touch a penny of my money. So now I have to see her for the sake of my precious little girl, but I made sure that she doesn't have the access to me that she once did.